Well, I finally got round to trying it. Red Dead Redemption, the ported version on PS5, a game originally released all the way back in 2010 during the PS3 and 360 days. It's been a long 15 years and honestly, I was still excited to play it. I'd already watched a couple of playthroughs when I was younger and it was considered criminal to play these types of games, many thanks to the Rad Brad and Tetra Ninja for being the plug in this instance. But despite knowing the story, knowing how it all ends, I was still hyped. I think having put over 400 hours into Red Dead 2, knowing how that story continues into this one just makes me want to see it all the way to the end. In Red Dead 1, you play as John Marston, a former member and survivor of the Van der Linde gang. Based on how the second game ended, John was beginning to settle down with his family, Abigail, Jack, and Uncle of course. You can see his nasty beard in 4K now. However, the past always rides faster for outlaws like John as the government issued him with a new objective in order to retain his freedom, and that was to capture or kill the remaining members of his old gang. Bill Williamson,
You know I don't want to kill you, but I will.
You always did have a high opinion of yourself, John. Dutch always said you were an arrogant son of a bitch. I guess he was about right. Get him, boys!
Javier Escuela, and the man himself, Dutch Van der Linde.
Oh, it's nice to see you, John. Hello, Dutch. How's Abigail? Well, I hope. Ain't seen her for a while. Cause you've been chasing me? Let the woman go, Dutch. Of course. Of course. How's your little boy? He ain't so little now. Oh, he must be what? 15? 16? Doesn't time fly? Don't adjust.
Starting out, John did just that. It was straight to business. Within the first 15 minutes of the game, you're already confronting Bill Williamson. It had been about 4 years after the epilogue of the second game, so a lot had changed. All the gang members had either gone into hiding or set up their own gangs to continue their outlaw lifestyle. And unfortunately for John, he gets blitzed instantly by Williamson's gang and is sent back to the gulag essentially. Which was a way of making the player start again from scratch. After being laid out on the dirt, he's found by Bonnie McFarlane, a character who plays a short but important role in nursing John back to health and teaching him the fundamentals of running a ranch. This is where you'll play some sort of tutorial segments to get used to shooting, riding a horse, herding cattle, and fending off rodents as well as bandits. As you may know, John never really says things outright, but this was his way of saying thank you and being obliged to help out where he can as a form of repayment for being saved. You also end up meeting her father Drew as well, who has some honest advice for John. I think he observes him quite closely, and even though he is typically a regular dude, his words do carry weight for someone who's trying to ditch the outlaw life.
I've seen strong men wither and die under that unforgiving sun. That whole herds of cattle take sick and die. But I've never once doubted my life here.
No, sir.
When I hear about this so-called federal government sending out agents to covertly murder and control people, then I start to worry. I mean, yeah, all right, Williamson is a menace, and men like him are the plague. But isn't a government agent a worse menace? And all that symbolizes, I mean.
You may be right, sir.
After some time and experience with Bonnie, things do heat up, with the ranch being attacked with the purpose of cattle theft, and even got to a point where she was being abducted and hung, leaving John limited time to save her. This mission was intense, I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. What the hell took you so long, stupid man?
Well, you weren't exactly helping me.
But after saving the day, John moves on as his main mission is far from over. The map for Red Dead 1 is definitely a lot smaller than the second game, but still has 3 distinct locations that diversify it a little. New Austin has the Badlands, desert plains and canyons, West Elizabeth has forests, rolling hills and mountains, and Mexico has small towns and deserts of less extreme temperatures. I had to search this, they kind of call them semi-arid deserts. Graphically speaking, it doesn't look the best at present day. That's how it is with these old generation games. They probably looked good back then, but now that we've seen a vast improvement in visuals for games as of recent, objectively older titles will look worse. We have to remember this is a ported version of the game, so even though we have better FPS, animations are less detailed, there's lower resolution, and very basic or simple weather effects. You know, Red Dead 1 feels emptier. Your towns are smaller, there's a lot less wildlife, you get some wolves and cougars now and again, but bears you have to really go deep into the forest to find. Most buildings can't be entered either. You know, Red Dead 2 ramps up the detail immensely, more stores and vendors to access, tons of wildlife, lots of random events and complex NPCs, so yes, in a sense it's a big step down jumping back into the first game, but either way I wasn't too fussed. You know, the story, the personalities you meet is the bread and butter of the game really. Throughout your journey, you'll meet some wild characters. Seth, the crinkle-cut fingered gravedigger, is an interesting individual. He takes you on some unsanitary and just downright questionable missions to assist in his hunt for treasure, which actually opens the door for side quests or miscellaneous missions. You know, you can start to unlock treasure maps and find stuff yourself.
Oh, it's like that, is it? Huh? Not talking to Seth today? Oh, the old silent treatment. Oh, whoa, whoo-hoo. That's quite a stink.
Hey, Seth.
This guy is insane.
Seth, come back here.
If you find yourself around Nigel West Dickens, expect an exceedingly overwhelming number of bullets to come your way. He sells tonics with a hint of exaggerated effects, which often ends up aggravating customers, and to no surprise, John is the one who has to get him out of trouble.
Well, I represent the only company that makes the genuine article which cures headache, neuralgia, toothache, earache, backache,
Fraud! This man is a fucking charlatan. He just got done swindling us down at Cho Springs with this song and dance. I say we tar and feather him right now. I say we shoot the
I think it's time we take our business elsewhere. I apologize if science is not your forte. Good day, one and all. Somebody, get there. Looks like we've been discovered. Let's get out of here. All right, you ride shotgun. Let's go, my boy. I think we've outstayed our welcome here.
And how can I forget Irish, the ultimate time waster? He was a character that could help John get his hands on some insane firepower, but often wasted his time with fetch quests and favors, which was actually quite funny to witness, but not so funny for John. Even wagons get so tired of listening to this guy they decide to bug out instead.
Half even, Shaky. You still owe me for them morphine pills to calm your nerves. Shaky.
You'll get your half more, you dirty fucking snake.
All right, gentlemen. Let's go.
Fucking fuck.
Oh, my virgin ears.
What the? What the? What? Bro. Did you see that? What was I supposed to... Don't tell me I've got to do that whole thing again, man. Come on, bro. I think it's fair to say John is much more on the serious side, a no-nonsense guy who just wants to get on with it. Even though he's forgiving enough to allow these characters to stall and waste his time, he can only do it for so long before his levels of irritation start to show, even on guys like Uncle.
We may not make it through the winter. What could we possibly want with some good quality horses? Come on.
That tone of voice ain't so becoming on you. Makes you seem all pent up and angry like some Blackwater would-be business tycoon with a bad case of hemorrhoids.
I'll give you a bad case of someone just shot me in the head if you don't hurry up.
Are you gonna man up, kid?
Oh, John's got so much smoke for Uncle, man. Uncle can't catch a break, man. John's always threatening to shoot him. Although I will say John did have some plausible and funny clapbacks for the two government agents that were on his ass the whole game.
They were waiting for us.
And who is this savage? A prisoner?
This is the informant, sir.
Do you speak English?
Yes he does, sir. He's the informant, Nostus.
Don't get snarky with me, Fordham.
We found him tied up on the boat, then they jumped us.
Nice of you to help us out. Hell of a plan sending in 2 men to take on an entire gang of outlaws, especially when one of them's an office clerk, or social secretary or some such.
You shut your mouth!
Landon Ricketts is an unforgettable character, acting as a mentor for John towards the back half of the game when you travel to Mexico. He's a retired gunslinger but a living legend, a bit on the old side but not to be underestimated. You'll spend quite a bit of time with him as he mentors you on Deadeye abilities, but is also living proof or foreshadowing of what John's life could be like in the future.
Well, you won't make it in the circus, but you can shoot. Keep on practicing.
Thank you, old man.
Now, who are you?
No one interesting. Who are you?
Landon Ricketts. Not a name that means much anymore.
Means a little. You were famous when I was a boy.
Yeah, killing men's a strange kind of fame. I was the fastest in my time. I must have been. I'm the only one left.
What are you doing here?
Living quietly. Waiting.
For what?
I don't know. And you?
Gameplay wise, parallel to the environment, you can expect stripped down mechanics. If that makes sense. It's a lot more limited. You know, you can ride and shoot from your horse, but you can't bond or feed it. In Red Dead 1, John's health is actually restored with tonics and food in some cases, as well as resting, which means you need to save and fast forward time for your health to reset. There is no camp, you know, you sort of just unlock safe houses as you progress the story and help out characters. You can't craft items, but you can gamble and play cards, etc. The towns feel a bit static though, you know, given the age of the game, NPCs do appear more predictable, and you get used to the scripted animations like random gangs rolling through towns and causing trouble. Plus the additional exaggerated dolphin diving from NPCs. That was such an exaggeration, man. That was such an exaggeration. So in essence, Red Dead 1's depth is more centered on the missions, as the surrounding environment is a little basic compared to 2, but obviously these games are 8 years apart, so I have to give credit where it's due. The gameplay still solidified my enjoyment. Fun fact, you can't actually fall off your horse in Red Dead 1. No matter how hard you try or how fast you're going when you hop off, John will always commit to the same animation of just lightly jogging to a complete halt, so chase missions are a lot more forgiving. The only thing you've got to manage is your horse stamina. If you time it right, you can spam it at consistent intervals to keep your sprinting and your stamina up, but this may require a maxed out horse for it to be worthwhile. The shooting in this game was very satisfying, although I kinda cheesed it with Deadeye for most of my playthrough. Pretty much all the weapons besides the Gatling gun are single shot or lever action only, so you do need some accuracy in engagements. Being on console, we do get aim assist obviously, but you do need some of your own control to land headshots. From what I remember, ammo is a bit hard to come by, so you can't shoot recklessly. Deadeye was my best friend here. The ability to slow down time and get your shots off not only made for a cool cinematic, but the shots felt all the more punchy. There's a semi-automatic 1911 pistol you can get just over halfway through the story, and it's a game changer. It gives you such an advantage in gunfights. I might be reaching here, but it almost felt like the BFG from Doom in a way, mainly because the 1911 was so different from the other weapons, and because of its stopping power, fast fire rate and accuracy, it felt disproportionately strong, which in a sense gave it an ace up the sleeve feel when your back's against the wall. However, there were other guns that piqued my interest too. The Evans and Winchester repeaters, two guns that had a decent mag size, good fire rate, which just made it a great all-rounder for most situations. If there were stats for weapon usage, these two would be up there. They are so satisfying to use. Of course, you had your volcanic pistol, the sawn-off shotgun, the rolling block rifle, which are all heavy hitters. Some of these weapons would be given at specific moments in a mission, so you can utilize it to its full potential. But overall, I feel there was a decent selection of weapons, not particularly a lot, only around 24 to 30-ish, but it felt like a good enough spread throughout all 57 missions, so you had plenty of opportunities to see what works best and where. Red Dead 1 gave us chase missions, shootouts, cattle herding, bounty hunting, treasure hunts, wagon races, fort raids, escorting missions, but one game mode that stood out for me was dueling. This was quite a semi-sophisticated mechanic that I really enjoyed. Apparently they did exist in Red Dead 2, but they were more so free-flowing, if that makes sense. It was something that you could do as you roam about in the game, so to speak. But in Red Dead 1, it's literally its own thing. The first time I did a duel, I got absolutely cooked. I had no idea what I was doing. The instructions were a bit confusing to begin with, so I had to watch a couple of tutorial videos on YouTube to understand it. But with such a cool concept, man, the slowing down of time in Deadeye as you mark your target as quickly as possible so you can let the bullets fly. I liked it so much I wish they brought back multiplayer for the ported version, as each PvP mission begins with a face-off duel. Unfortunately, Red Dead 2 didn't start off like that. Everyone kind of just spawned in a random area then went off. Kind of like how COD's free-for-all goes. But yeah, I like the duels. It's a shame they didn't incorporate it as its own individual mechanic in the second game. As you all know by now, with how the story ends for John Marston, you can continue and clear up the rest of the game as Jack, which is really interesting because in a sense, most if not all the side quests can be done as him instead of John, so you get to experience different dialogue, tones and behaviour responses from Jack towards the NPCs he interacts with. The core gameplay is the same, but the Jack you raised as a kid is still representative as he is now. He's not quite there as a seasoned gunslinger yet, it's more so a work in progress, so if they do a third game, it would be interesting to see if they can create a story with Jack. I'd personally like to see that anyway. I think the only downside is replaying missions defaults your items. I was hyped when I realized you could redo your favorite levels, but having to play on a nerf John or Jack was kind of annoying, but at least the option is still there. But that's all from me anyway. I got this game at a discount, you know, it did go as low as $23.99, but I ended up buying it at $29.99. Silly, I know. I needed a new game to play, so I should have bought it when it was lower, but I was hoping it would drop below 20 at some point, and it never did. I got impatient. Because PlayStation likes to hide prices after you've bought a game, I don't know if it will ever be any cheaper than that, but with Halloween and Black Friday coming up soon, you can probably expect another discount on it. If you're yet to try it, I apologise for pretty much spoiling the whole game, but I'd vouch and say give it a go. You know, it's a good story to tie up loose ends of the second game and reveal the potential to a new story for a third, if they have plans to, you know, after GTA 6, which I imagine won't even be a thought for another 10 years, so let's see. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been Dre, take care and see you next time.